Good morning, and welcome to your daily Farm and Home Show, brought to you by the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. And now, here's your host.
Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Forrest Wynne. He's with the Extension Service as an aquaculture specialist there. Good morning, Forrest.
Good morning. How are you, Joanna?
I'm well, and I'm glad we're talking about ponds this week because spring is coming for sure, and we've had a lot of water. And when we think about our ponds and keeping good water quality, one of the things that comes to mind is aeration.
Right.
And how important is that?
Particularly during the warm months of the year, let's say probably from June through September, it's quite important if you can do it. Now, it's a big caveat because you really need to be near a source of electricity, otherwise it can be quite expensive. It's an expensive endeavor anyway. The aeration units probably start somewhere around $1,000. And that's just to buy the unit. Then you'd have to get power source to the pond. And you want this done professionally for obvious reasons. You don't want the risk of electrocution to swimmers or to anybody else, you know, who's doing the install. So, you know, it's a factor. And so, you know, have this done professionally, but it's not at all inexpensive. But it really is the only insurance policy that you can put in your pond to help save your fish populations, particularly during warm weather. It's warm weather. The warm weather doesn't hold dissolved oxygen as well as the cold water. Excuse me, and so that gets more critical in the hot summer months.
Yeah, and so if you've had problems maybe in the past with fish kills or something like that, it might be a good option. You've invested all this money into your fish, and it is expensive, but sometimes I've found working with farmers it's about the only way.
Yeah, if your pond does not have good access to prevailing winds, if it's down in a valley or something, those ponds are particularly subject to these problems. Deeper ponds tend to have more trouble than shallow ones. As I mentioned before, no two ponds are the same, so it's almost a case-by-case scenario. But yet you can kind of group them into different types of ponds and, you know, their configuration. And some will have more difficulty than others, for sure.
And, you know, we talked earlier in the week about siting and construction, but aeration might be one of those things that you consider at that stage of construction.
Yeah, and, you know, you have to understand the average farm pond probably only has a few $100s worth of fish in there, so it's more of an aesthetic value as to whether to really invest a lot of money in basically an emergency life support system for these fish, or just to restock periodically if something goes wrong. I've seen some ponds that have oxygen-related issues every year, and others that hardly ever have it. And it's usually due to an algal bloom die-off. An algal bloom will die, and they only live about 3 weeks. The phytoplankton in the water column itself die off, and it depletes the oxygen. Most people think there's too many fish in their pond. Well, fish don't really have anything to do with it. It's pretty much all about the plankton bloom and what the health of the plankton bloom in the pond itself.
And that's why a lot of times we talk about maybe not treating the entire pond at one time, especially if it's really hot.
Yeah, our algicides in particular are non-selective, so they kill both the bad stuff and the good stuff. So if you're going after something like cyanobacteria blue-green algae, it'll take down the green algae and the algae you want as well. So unfortunately, we don't have chemicals or devices that will kill selectively.
And, you know, we're talking about farm ponds, but probably the calls that I get most often when we're talking about aeration are the ornamental ponds with the koi fish and things like that, and they have quite a few in there and really need to have good aeration.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see people that install these fountains, and a fountain is a decorative piece. It's not really a workhorse as would be an aerator. A surface aerator's good for a pond that's about 10 feet deep. A diffused air system we'd use in deeper ponds, let's say 12 to 15 feet or more. So a diffused air system is more like a compressor on land with grids in the bottom, and think of it as a ceiling fan for your pond. It just sort of circulates the water. The idea is to circulate the volume of water about once a day to keep oxygen depleted situations from building up in the bottom of the pond, which is where they occur.
Yeah, so a lot of things to consider with pond management, and if people are having issues, probably the best thing is to contact a professional.
Yeah, and the little ornamental ponds, it's a situation in which people tend to overfeed. We see that the most. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the information. If you have questions, make sure to contact your local extension office and we'd be happy to help. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
If you have questions about today's topic, please call the Warren County Extension Office at the number on your screen. Thanks for watching and have a great day.